Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a B-movie review and today I'll be having a look at the sci-fi original movie BATTLEDOGS. So, as I just mentioned, this is a movie that was made for TV for the Sci-Fi channel in the US. And it's kind of a werewolf film with a bit of a difference. Now, it has a similar name to the werewolf, the British werewolf film Dog Soldier, and it does have a sort of a fairly similar theme. And that is kind of werewolves versus the military, or in this case, the military actually wants to use werewolves as a weapon when a woman played by Ariana Richards, who you may know from the original Jurassic Park film, comes into an airport having been previously bitten by a wolf when she's a wildlife photographer when she's out in the in the wild taking pictures of wolves and what have you. And this particular werewolf sort of virus basically makes you turn into a werewolf when your heart rate goes up. She's in the queue for the ticket or whatever, and starts getting stressed out, runs into the toilet, and ends up sort of turning into a werewolf, and basically biting loads of people who pretty much instantly then turn into werewolves themselves. And there's quite a good scene at the beginning where you have all these sort of people just getting massacred in this sort of lobby of an airport. Half of them being killed, and then half of them sort of turning into the werewolves themselves, and then sort of turning other people into werewolves and so on. So the military is called in, as you'd expect, and people are sort of quarantined once it's sort of pretty much contained. And then this military general, played by Dennis Haysbert, has the idea that he could use this as a sort of a weapon overseas and what have you. He's sort of opposed by a major played by Chris Sheffer, who is sort of against it and wants to sort of just cure it really. And then it's basically a battle of wits between those two really, and the kind of sooner or later the werewolves kind of bust out of their sort of containment and are spreading across New York, and it's the sort of like the battles really between sort of soldiers and these kind of large werewolves that kind of look a little bit like the werewolves from the US version of Being Human. And it's kind of a fun film, but it's extremely done in the logical. So the positives of this one, first of all, I would say the cast is pretty damn good in this one for a sci-fi original. Obviously, I've mentioned a couple of people there, but you've also, you've got Ernie Hudson, you've got Bill Duke. There's a reasonable cast here, and they do a sort of fairly good job, considering obviously it's a fairly lowbrow sort of sci-fi movie and what have you. I mean, that said, the actual script is pretty poor, and as I said, it does have some massively sort of dumb things that it does, and kind of illogical sort of setups and things like that. They're looking for this patient zero. The girl played by Ariana Richards pretty much says she's patient zero to two different high-ranking people, and she's kind of just forgotten about until until a bit later on. So it's stuff like that, and just the fact that you end up having all these sort of Marines and stuff just sort of blindly just shooting other US citizens and things like that. Anyway, it's just kind of it's a dumb film, but if you're this is obviously marketed to the sort of like adolescent male, so if you're kind of in that category, you probably get you'll probably enjoy it for the sort of the action and the idea of it. Because I actually think the idea of it is actually quite good, and it's the actual werewolves are maybe a little bit different from what we've seen in sort of previous werewolf films. It's certainly not a horror film. It's more of a sort of sci-fi action film, if anything. There's a kind of a low level of gore in it, just really sort of splats of blood mainly. Nothing too gory. A little bit of sort of shredded human tissue here and there and things like that, but nothing majorly gory, to be fair. So it was okay, but certainly just this film has always been complete crap, but really because of the cast that's involved, and the idea I think is quite good, but just the execution is, and the script and the direction are fairly mediocre. So there you go. So this film, I'd give it a 4.5. One thing obviously with the sci-fi films in general, the CGI is always going to be a bit wonky in these films, and this film is no exception. It does have quite a lot of CGI, so obviously based on the budget, you do have to kind of give it a break in a certain degree, but certainly the CGI effects look okay in some shots, but generally speaking, they look pretty much very much like obvious computer effects. And Even stuff like a helicopter landing looks like a cartoon helicopter landing and things like that. And the wolf effects themselves are kind of negligible. They're okay when they're sort of in the sort of wide shots and distant. When you kind of see them close up, they look a bit silly. So anyway, that's my thoughts. What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I look forward to seeing you next time. See you later.